You reach behind your ear and feel a little ridge of cartilage that does absolutely nothing. Or you try to wiggle your ears and only one side half cooperates. Or you sit down wrong and something at the base of your spine lights up like a tiny, useless fire alarm. Biologists call these vestigial structures, spare parts, evolutionary leftovers. You didn't order them, nobody asked, but your body is hauling around organs, muscles, and bone stubs that natural selection never quite deleted. So, what's going on? Why do humans carry organs they don't even use? The short answer is evolutionary baggage. Your DNA acts like a cheap landlord who never empties the storage unit. If a feature used to help your ancestors survive and then stopped helping, evolution only scraps it if it's actively killing you before you reproduce. Otherwise, it sits there, taking up space, occasionally exploding. Your body is a museum of obsolete equipment that still bills you for maintenance. Cool, mystery solved. Except most of these useless parts have a stranger story than a simple delete key. Start with the appendix. For over a century, doctors treated it like a biological prank. A finger-sized tube hanging off your large intestine with no job, no purpose, and a hobby of randomly swelling up and trying to kill you. Charles Darwin argued in On the Origin of Species in 1859 that vestigial organs were leftovers of ancestry, evidence that life was patched together over deep time. The appendix became the poster child. Surgeons yanked it out and shrugged. Problem solved. Except the shrug aged badly. In the 2000s and 2010s, researchers at Midwestern University, including Heather Smith and Bill Parker, started treating the appendix as less of a joke and more of a data problem. They compared mammals across evolutionary trees and found that the appendix didn't just appear once and fade. It evolved independently more than 30 times. That is not how pure garbage behaves. Evolution does not reinvent a useless tube 30 times for fun. A leading hypothesis says the appendix acts as a safe house for beneficial gut bacteria. When diarrhea flushes your intestines clean, the good microbes hide in that little blind alley and reseed the neighborhood after the storm. So the organ that can randomly explode and land you in a Costco parking lot adjacent emergency room might also be a microbial panic room. Don't think about that too hard. Then there's your coccyx, the tailbone, 3 to 5 fused vertebrae at the bottom of your spine that used to be a real tail. Your primate ancestors used tails for balance in trees. We came down, stood up, and the tail shrank into a bony stub. It still anchors a few pelvic muscles and ligaments, so it's not pure decoration. But it is also famous for one talent. If you fall on ice outside a Target in February, that stub will remind you it exists with the emotional intensity of a betrayal. A structure that used to help you swing through canopy is now mainly good at making you walk funny after a parking lot wipeout. Wisdom teeth are the dental version of the same story. Your deep ancestors had larger jaws and tougher plant diets. Third molars made sense when the menu was raw roots and fibrous stems. Then cooking softened food, agriculture changed jaw growth patterns, and human faces got smaller. The teeth kept showing up on schedule. Your DNA never got the memo that the construction site shrank. So now roughly 1 in 5 people never develop some of them, and a huge chunk of everyone else needs a dentist to excavate impacted molars sideways through bone. You pay $1,200 so someone can remove evolutionary leftovers from your skull with a drill that sounds like a kitchen appliance having a breakdown. Allegedly, progress. Look at the inner corner of your eye. That pale pink fold is the Plica Semilunaris. It's the remnant of a nictitating membrane, the third eyelid that reptiles, birds, and some mammals still use to wipe and protect the eye without fully closing it. Your distant vertebrate cousins can flash a transparent shield across the cornea. You get a sad little crescent of tissue that mostly just collects sleep grit. Evolution left you the souvenir version of a windshield wiper. Your ears are another half-finished renovation. Tiny auricular muscles still attach around the pinna. In cats and horses, those muscles swivel the ear toward a sound like a satellite dish. In humans, most of the wiring is dormant. A minority of people can still wiggle their ears on command, which is less a superpower and more proof that the old remote control still works if you mash the buttons hard enough. The rest of us just look like we're trying to signal a cab with our faces. And here's where it gets stupid. Goosebumps. When you're cold or scared, tiny erector pili muscles try to raise body hair you barely have. In furry mammals, that fluffs the coat for insulation, or makes the animal look bigger to a threat. On a mostly naked human, goosebumps are a visual glitch. Your skin does a whole emergency protocol for a fur coat that checked out of the species a long time ago. Same energy as installing antivirus software on a toaster. Then there's the Palmaris longus, a thin forearm muscle that helps some primates grip branches. About 10 to 15% of humans don't have it at all, and they function fine. Surgeons sometimes harvest the tendon for reconstructive grafts because the body treats it as optional. Your arm came with a spare cable that evolution forgot to standardize across the factory line. Which raises a different, dumber question. If evolution is so ruthless, why keep any of this junk? Because ruthless is marketing language. Natural selection is not a perfectionist engineer. It's a tinkerer with a deadline. Traits only vanish when the cost of keeping them is high enough to matter before reproduction. A silent ear muscle is cheap. An appendix that mostly behaves and occasionally murders you is still cheap enough statistically for the gene line to keep rolling. Darwin's point still stands even when individual organs get rehabilitated by new research. Bodies are historical documents. They carry yesterday's solutions into today's problems. So the twist is not that your body is perfect after all. The twist is messier. Some useless organs are truly downsized relics. Some are semi-retired with side hustles. The appendix might be a bacterial bunker. The coccyx still ties muscles together. Wisdom teeth are mostly a scheduling conflict with modern jaw size. Goosebumps are a false alarm on empty hardware. You are not a finished product. You're a walking retrofit. A series of good enough patches that got you this far, Costco membership and all. Anyway, the next time your tailbone complains or your ear refuses to wiggle, or a dentist schedules an excavation under local anesthetic, remember you're not defective. You're just hauling the warehouse inventory of a species that never did a proper spring cleaning. Evolution doesn't throw things away. It leaves sticky notes that say, might need later, and then forgets. Now you know, sorry.